Welcome. Monday, we're back. Born to Ferment, the podcast. Today, I do have a great guest, Chris Locke, which is one of the chef in at a place called Marburn. Great restaurant. I actually never been myself, unfortunately, but I heard a lot of good stuff about it. Chris, welcome,
Hi,
man. Thank for
thank you.
this. Thank you so much to be part of this talk. And I was talking to you in a green room, and there was a lot of things I've seen on the menu, which is I was pretty kind of stubborn. Organic sourdough vinegar. I love that. I've been baking a lot of bread, and when I see this kind of little techniques getting through, means it's a great things going on here, right?
Yeah, so that was really like a way to use old bread, like stale bread,
Nice.
and we're kind of still down that rabbit hole of trying to make use of stale bread. The vinegar was one of the things, so like ferment it into a beer and then into a vinegar. But we make like sourdough miso, obviously like not fermented things like breadcrumbs and crostinis is like an easy one to do. But the miso is fantastic. We're making two different types of shoyu from sourdough as well. Just completing the life cycle and then adding it back in as like a salt replacement as well, back into bread.
And this is so good. So, for instance, we make a lot of kvass because we have sourdough, we have a bread program, and being a cocktail bar, obviously our bread program is probably not as good as you guys being a restaurant. But at the same time, sometimes when you got the leftover, you just you gotta think about what you can do and what you can do nice, because you can also just dehydrate it and make some powder, but also you can make alcoholic beverages such as kvass. Or for instance, anything that comes from. I actually make some pesto as well, which is dill and sourdough. And it's such a basic recipe, but actually it's delicious, which is, at the end of the day, it's what really matters sometimes when speaking about food or drinks. Man, who are you? Tell us about you. I've seen you on Fooders. There was a big article about you. So here things are starting to kick out like big time, right?
Yeah, just started writing. That's kind of my, I guess, COVID new thing that I'm doing. So I used to write anyway, just for fun, just to like on the Marburn website, and like I did the blog, and just really because I enjoyed talking about ingredients, so like different things in food and in the industry.
Amazing.
And just the conversations that you don't have with guests. Like you might get like a minute tops, talking about a particular ingredient on the plate, or like the way things are farmed, or ingredient sourcing. So really just like a way to talk about these things and have people be able to read them at their leisure, and kind of connect with guests and educate as well.
I believe it's so important, and one of the reasons why I open and I'm starting this podcast, which is, by the way, this is our 6th episode, so it's a very young project of mine, and I've done it for the same reason, bro. Like you still want to carry on talk about what you love, you still want to show a lot of support for community, but I would say more for community is like we've been fermenting. Maybe you for more, but for me it's like 4 or 5 years, and I opened a cocktail bar based on fermentation. So just leave it like that. It didn't sound that good. We still need to carry on to look after all those little the little bacteria, the little things that we're growing. But at the same time, I just wanted to put some word out there for other people like myself and like yourself, that they actually do love this technique so much. How did you get into? Actually, let's start from the very beginning. How did you get into cooking? Because that's how everybody starts. You didn't start as like, oh, I'm gonna ferment. I'm sure you started cooking first, and I was like, oh, wait a second, this is phenomenal. Actually, this is fucking great. I will do this forever, because my dishes, they probably taste 10 times better if I follow some structure.
Yeah, for sure. Cooking, like, it was just like a love of food. So when I was kind of 10 years old, my older brother challenged me to a cook-off at home, because he said he could like cook better than I could, and I wouldn't have it. So I like made this roast pork, like pot roast pork with white wine, and
Where you
fennel.
from? You from UK? Where you
From
from?
the UK, yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
guys roasting like crazy. I lived in UK for 10 years, so
Okay, so you know your roast meats.
gotta do it right.
Yeah.
You gotta do it right.
And that was like the first point, and then I just cook at home just because I enjoyed eating. One of my biggest struggles is like keep not becoming just a fat person,
Okay,
just because like
which is
just constantly wanting to eat and wanting to like taste stuff. So it's been a
which is
struggle my
sometimes,
whole life.
sometimes chefs, this is there's actually one of the best book of Massimo Bottura, Don't Trust the Thin Chef. So
Yeah,
it's to be honest, if you like cooking, man, you gotta like exercising too if you want to stay fit,
yeah,
because
yeah.
if not, it's gonna be a little struggle there. Because especially and this for instance for me, I'm not a chef, so I'm a home cooking and I'm cooking all the time. I'm cooking obviously for my family, and when you start to understand how cooking with fat is so good, it's dangerous, because you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is tastes 10 times better like that, and I know it's not probably falling in my diet or whatever, but this is delicious, so I'm probably gonna do this once a week or once a month.
Yeah, I have this self-imposed, I guess, ideology that unless it's like refined fats are bad, but everything else is fine. So if you want to fry in like bacon fat, then it's healthy, or it's like
Yeah,
wholesome. It's good for you.
of course. Or you know
Yeah.
what? The best thing is like when you get it. Okay, so where did I get this meat from? As soon as you
Mhm.
get a very good produce, a very good product, and you're like, okay, this is great though. So it doesn't matter how fat it is. Like for instance, I have a question. What do you think about like cooking oils? Because cooking oils, I've been learning on kind of health food that they're not as good, right? Corn
Yeah.
oil, canola, but chef in the kitchens, we always use it, right? You will use it a lot.
Yeah.
Have you got any kind of way to find a benefit out of that?
I think any like a lot of products and ingredients, the more they're processed, they're generally worse for you. They generally taste terrible or of nothing, and are generally worse for you. So if you can, I don't when I cook at home, I don't really use cooking oil.
Perfect.
I
Same.
just have like a little bowl of bacon fat. So every time I cook bacon, it like goes into a little bowl, and then I just use that for everything. That's like
Yeah.
my oil.
Being Italian, it's all about olive oil, man. My grandmother
Yeah.
we never had canola oil at home. Like I don't remember I've seen canola oil when I moved actually to UK.
Mhm.
Before that, there was canola oil was not a thing. But
Yeah.
actually, for science of cooking, canola oil sometimes or any vegetable oils are actually better. They cook faster. The meat gets a bit more roasted. There's
A higher smoke point.
higher smoke point.
Yeah.
There's few points that
Yeah.
kind of help that cooking. But anyway, so you were cooking with your brother. If not here, we're gonna it doesn't matter because those kind of conversations are so good, man. And sometimes last time I was with Jeff, which is basically a winemaker,
Mhm.
and we talked for like an hour and 20 minutes. It was like, oh man. But sometimes it's the beauty of a good conversation, right? And I
Yeah.
hope that everybody at home, whenever they're going to listen the podcast, they'll actually benefit through this because those are real stories. So you start cooking. When's first chef job or first kitchen
First
job?
cooking job. I think I was 16 or 17. Started working at a hotel just down the road from where I grew up. Started as a server,
Nice.
and
Front
I
of
was
hours, man.
terrible. I probably did. I did probably like 2 or 3 months. And
Was that Manchester?
that was in Sheffield. Yeah.
Sheffield. I lived in
Yeah.
Sheffield
Yeah.
too, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I
Oh,
lived there for 4 months. Yeah, it was my ex girlfriend was from Chesterfield.
oh wow.
So yeah. So I was actually living in Sheffield when the Arctic Monkeys came out. Funny enough. So
When the what?
the Arctic Monkeys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's probably I was at university in Sheffield as well. We're probably there at the same time.
Yep. Do you know
Wild.
a guy called James Hill? He owns a lot of bars. It's like the bar guru of Sheffield. But anyway, it's one of my mentors. It's one of the guys that I started with. He gave me the first ever proper cocktail job when I was
Nice.
19 years old. Man, it was a great story. Anyway, talking about you, not about me. Shut up.
Yeah, and then just started cooking. There was someone left in the kitchen, and I kind of just put my hand up and was like, I can cook, or I thought I could cook, and then got in there and realized that I couldn't cook and had no idea what I was doing. And I remember like my first shift, I like burnt every single thing. I was like, I think all I had was a salamander and a cold section, and I forgot about every single thing that I put in the salamander. But the chef kind of like took me under his wing, and
nice.
I think because I had interest in food and I had like a passion for food, which is really, I think it's the same with drinks as well, right? It's the same with cocktails. Like if you have the passion, then everything else you can learn
completely
because you want to learn it. So I was cooking part-time. I was studying at the same time. Went to university and studied sport and business.
Very nice.
But I was always working part-time, always cooking. And it was like I felt very lucky because it was one of the part-time jobs that I actually enjoyed. Everyone was like working at like Foot Locker or like doing admin jobs.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And, it's so funny because so many people, they actually, especially I say front of hours, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I have more contact with people in front of hours, and people that they start working on the bar, for instance, and they start to learning the craft. Sometimes they actually leave the job that they've been studying for, because it's such a social kind of interaction. That you feel appreciated much more than if you work in an office in front of your computer. In a kitchen, I would probably say it's a bit different because you guys are on more on the back of house, but at the same time, when you work as a team, that's the fire that comes in, right?
It's the teamwork, and it's like working with your hands, and just being able to be creative. I think,
of course.
Yeah, I finished university in 2010. I actually studied a master's. I like finished my degree and still didn't recognize the kitchen as what I wanted to do as a career.
Yeah.
But I just loved being there. But it was like a part-time job that I could make money in, but I also enjoyed.
Of course.
So like 2010, I left the kitchen. I worked in Manchester actually for just over a year.
I lived in Manchester for 8 years, brother.
There we go.
I'm a the Liars Club, Crazy Pedro's.
Yeah.
I ran all of those.
Oh, yeah.
So I was actually, behind the drink. There's also another place called Science and Industry, Cane and Grain. So I was actually the brand ambassador for that company. So we had the Liars Club and Black Dog, and we grow from 2 to 9 places. And I was part of that growth. Not incredible food, I would say, but you learn how a business grows, and especially drinks wise, there's a lot going on. Manchester, where did you work, bro?
I was working as a business manager. I was based in Prestwich, so like North Manchester.
Nice.
Working as a business manager, I was running a chain of coffee shops and grew them from 1 to 4
very nice
locations across like the northwest. But it was very much business, not anything to do with food.
Did you miss working in the kitchen?
Yeah, like every single day. I sat in front of a computer and I was like, I just want to be cooking on my feet. Like I've been sat down for like 9 hours. I would much rather be stood for like 16.
Which is, I guess, for a chef or for a bartender, be sitting for 9 hours is like, I got a funny story as well. I was in London. I was like 18, and I needed more money. So I was working full time as a bar floor supervisor in this place called Via Fossa in West India Key, so Canary Wharf. And I was like, I need more money, so I'm gonna get a job at Hugo Boss, because Hugo Boss was paying a lot of money. It was like £9.50 an hour for 18 years old. Man, I lasted 2 weeks. I was doing 2 days a week, but after the second week, I'm like, bro, can I clean the entire room? I was like, what do you mean? You just need to stand there and be pretty. I'm like, I hate this. Like, what do you mean I need to stand there and be pretty?
Yeah.
Can I just clean the entire place? Like, fortunately, and this is the beauty, that for us in a kitchen or in the front of house, the rhythm is so strong that you can't just stand, right?
No, we're not good at standing still, or like as soon as I finish a project or like we get over a busy period or something, I'm just like, okay, now I can like rest a little bit, and my mind will just start popping with stuff, and I'll end up with like 5 more projects on the go.
Did you ferment at that time?
At that time, no.
Fermentation
I guess
wasn't a thing, though, right?
I was like making wine at university, but that was like just
Just for the sessions.
Just for like cheap. It's like £5 for like 30 liters or something.
But think about it. You don't think that all the work back in the days, now that you do this professionally, actually sometimes comes back, You maybe have some theories. You have some theories that before were not theories, but just, okay, let's try if it doesn't work.
It just happened. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no science behind it. It was just put it in a container and let it go.
Toronto, was there after Manchester, or there was something?
No, that was, I left the UK. It was when I came to terms with the fact that I wanted to be in a kitchen. And I was just pretty unhappy with my career and where I was in my life, and
of course,
being in the UK. So it's like, I'm going to...
Rainy, man. Lots of rain. Manchester,
all the time. All the time. So I booked a one-way ticket to Australia.
Very nice.
Landed in Perth and got a job in a restaurant in, I think, 5 days. Within 5 days of landing. So I started working again, and that was really like my first full-time position in a kitchen. Like, I was working full-time in like university holidays and stuff like that. They're like full-time, kind of facing the fact that this is what I wanted to do. So I was working.
Good kitchen.
Good kitchen. Yeah, it was. It's called Sea Restaurant. It was in the core, and it was like at the top of 33rd floor. They're a very good chef and learned a lot.
Very good.
Yeah,
I do believe traveling. It's and that's for a human in general, but bartending and chefs. I always advise to young bartenders. If you're young, travel, man, because if you don't travel, you won't understand cultures.
Yeah. It takes the blinkers off.
As much as you can read about it, and as much as you can study all the books that you fucking want. It's just not the same. You touch it with your skin. It's just a very different mindset also, because you put yourself in a big question mark. You go to a new land when nothing is happening, and you got to make it happen because your family is not there anymore to support you, right?
Yeah, it just like strips away everything that is like around you, everything that makes you feel comfortable, and you can immerse yourself in whatever you want.
Any fermentation back then?
No fermentation.
It wasn't a thing, man. It's not your fault. It's not your fault or a restaurant fault. It wasn't a thing. It's been a thing for more than 2,000 years, but we just it wasn't cool enough. And also actually, there was not a pioneer that made it popular again, which is that sometimes those things happened, and we are very lucky. I don't know if you feel that lucky that we actually part of this. At least I feel part of this movement of people that they really push fermentation for a better living. It's a true story. It's totally scientifically proved. I had the luck to speak. Actually, is going to be my guest on Wednesday. Italian guy called Flavio Sasso, which is called. Is actually, you will love this. It's a fermentalista. Is actually his page on Instagram. And this guy, it's a biologist, and it's pushing the fermentation world in Italy like nobody else. And we had a very smart chat about how the fermentation world kind of will grow. And he said that there's a lot of interesting from people. Hopefully, even the public very, very soon will actually start to understand how good this is for everybody. And actually, I was simple, and I don't know if you want to confirm this. Some of the fermentation process, like, it's not hard to achieve even in home. It's pretty basic, right?
Yeah, I think just if you have like a very basic fundamental understanding of what's going on, it's pretty straightforward,
right? They actually what they want to create, what they're kind of working on, which is amazing, is some chambers. So they want to create the new fridge. While before, because the world of food obviously totally changed, and processed food came into the world because of the refrigerators, right? Yeah. So they want to recreate that kind of tool, but the opposite. So at least people can, start fermenting at home, which is, and for me, there will be, even because, we will just take away a lot of problems that we do have by, obesity or, unhealthy food, because fermentation, man, it's the healthiest food you can get.
And food waste.
Food waste. That's right. So Australia, no fermentation. Is that
fermentation?
Canada after Australia?
No, it was Central America. So I worked in, traveled and worked through Cuba, Mexico, and Guatemala, and then stayed in Guatemala for 6 months.
Nice. Drinking a lot of rum, I guess, right?
Drinking some rum.
They got really good rums out there, and they got some banging rums.
Yeah. They worked at a hostel hotel, so that was kind of managing or co-managing that with my now wife.
Very nice.
So we were there. No fermentation.
It wasn't a thing, man. It wasn't your fault. 5 years ago, when I was in Manchester, actually, science and industry was the booming of the rotavapors. So one was Manchester House, and they had a rotavapor, and we were the second to have a rotavapor just dedicated on drinks. And nobody cares about fermentation, not even Manchester House.
Yeah.
But everybody was redistilling. Everybody was clarification was the first big thing. After you can, create your own perfumes. And I had one guy, Polish guy, that would come to me and was like, "I'm growing a SCOBY." I'm like, "What the fuck? Who was this?" And he showed me the SCOBY, and I'm like, "What's this, man? This is disgusting." It's like, "No, this is actually really good for your health." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Yeah. It made me try what he made after. And I was like, "Man, this is amazing." And he was like, yeah, this is kombucha. I'm like, "Did you make this?" I'm like, "Yeah." So how do I make it? And that's how, for instance, how I got into fermentation. We were doing some fermented syrups, but nothing studied,
Mm-hmm.
Did you move to Canada after that? After Guatemala?
Oh no, went to France, and I was working as went to a ski season in France, just like running a chalet. So just cooking with whatever you could get from like on a mountaintop.
Not fermentation, maybe, but a lot of butter. But a lot of butter. A lot of butter.
Yeah, a lot of butter, a lot of fat.
Yep. What did you think about France cooking? Like, did you do any? Are you also, like, this is a question? Do you want more? Are you a more French cuisine chef? Are you a more modern? Are you a more traditional British?
I don't even know what.
Which is great.
Like, I don't have any training in cooking. Like, I've never been, so I don't have those kind of confines of been taught a certain way or been taught like the classical way of cooking that we were taught as like Western people, that like Central Europe is like Western Europe is kind of like the center of gastronomy and nothing else matters. So I don't have that and never have been taught that.
Of course.
I don't really know. I don't think I have a style really like pulled from anywhere. It's just whatever makes sense for what we're preparing, or the technique for this dish it just works the best.
Which is amazing, because if you think about it, for instance, living in South America or Central America, there's a lot of colors there, right? It's the food is like that's what I really love. For instance, in Mexico City, a few places that we've been, the dishes were basically a paint. Right, that was the beautiful composition of color. The actual technique were all, maybe basics, but nothing too crazy. But the actual composition of the dishes were phenomenal. Like, in my opinion, that's where I say. And I'm talking even street food, not just not just high-end restaurant, which is beautiful because it really reflects the colors of the country. Why Canada, brother? Tell me.
It was you
like the winter after France. It's like, oh man, I want more winter. I want more snow.
There was I think like a couple of years where I had like back-to-back summers, which was pretty good. Just like moving around. So I felt like I needed to punish myself and have some snow and some cold.
6 months of cold, I think.
I arrived here in the summer. So I arrived in June, so it was screaming hot, and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And
after October, November, like, now I understand why there's only 39 millions inside this country.
Yeah.
But to be honest, man, I don't know if you agree with me. Toronto's amazing.
Like, I love it. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why we're both here, right?
I'm a big lover of the city. And bear in mind that, as I said, sometimes I interviews or like when they invite me on the podcast, I always define myself as a Manchester boy. It's my city. I will go back there instead of go back to Rome, because I don't know, man, I got a really strong feeling with the city. but Toronto is awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really good. It's young.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. The food industry, for instance, I moved here as a bar manager at Dilo, which is, the food program. It's pretty intense and pretty good. I would say,
Yeah.
like really defined food. Modern Asian cuisine, which is amazing. Service, very high standard, and all these things. For instance, in UK, or at least in places that I work in UK, drink wise, we were much forward, much forward. But food wise, I didn't see so much. I think the
Yeah.
city, and I don't know if you agree with me, and if you got anything to add on this, but the food scene is pretty good, eh?
Here? You mean? Yeah, in Toronto?
In Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Like from service to actual, products, producers in general, eh? There's a lot going on.
I think it's such an underrated city for so many reasons, but especially food and drink.
Yeah,
but the things that people are doing here is like it rivals New York, and I think it often doesn't get the appreciation that it should.
Yeah, I do think it's also a process. I do believe that if places will carry on to do what they do, sooner or later, people will notice it. I say, for instance, in the drink world, Mather not last year, last year was nominated 10 best new cocktail bars, one of the 10 new best cocktail bars, and there were actually another 2 Canadian bars. So I think little by little, it's one of those processes, man, that it doesn't take a day. Unfortunately, it takes people that are constantly trying to renovate, and create innovations and a kind of a buzz in the city that people will actually start thinking about it. As Marvin, how's been Marvin in the last 2 years, and why did you move immediately to Marvin, or did you?
No, so I moved to Marvin in 2017, so 4 years.
Nice.
4 years.
Nice.
Do the maths on that quick.
No worries.
Yeah, and then before that, I was at Las Calabres, so working with Mexican food,
nice.
which tied in nicely with my time in Guatemala and kind of built on that knowledge using a bunch of ingredients I had never worked with before, which is amazing. But again, like no fermentation, it was all traditional Mexican food.
Of course.
And really, I think moving to Marvin in 2017, the focus there has always been like farm to table, and it's always been local seasonal food. So we kind of ran with that, and just every month or every season, I just like digging deeper and deeper into being local and seasonal.
Beautiful.
So I think it was 2018, like rolling into the fall and winter, we're like, fuck, if we're like going so deep into local food, like what are we going to serve? What are we going to do in the winter? Like just every plate is like meat and root veg, or like,
and probably some sea, some fish, but the fish, it doesn't, we're not very close to the sea, are we?
Yeah.
So there was I feel you.
So then we started looking at fermentation as a way to bring about different flavors from like everyday normal things that you'd get during Canadian winters, and also like preserve ingredients from the summer, just so that the menu in the winter wasn't bland and
And you found the key, I guess. I'll tell you what happened for instance, to us. When this is probably my favorite book is over there. It's called The Art of Fermentation. The reason why, and I'm sure everybody that ferments read that book. And if you guys didn't at home, like, please do it, because it's a really beautiful, basic way to understand about fermentation. Nothing is complicated, because it wasn't complicated as 1,000 years ago, and it shouldn't be complicated apart if you a chef that serve food to people. And that's, you got to be complicated there, because there's some certain level of good bacteria, bad bacteria, explosions, of course, which is, unfortunately, when you work in an environment with 10, 15 people working with you, you got to be careful about the stuff, man, because, it's safety first, right? But at home, really, there's a lot of try errors that people can do without no problems. Our, like, at least my perception and our as a mother totally changed when the Noma book came out. I remember that we went actually to the theater here in Toronto, and I stand up immediately and I said, I'm running bar chef, but I'm opening a bar based on fermentation called Mother. And it was so funny. We got Rene Renzebi when we actually went to the book sign. I was like, "You are from Mother." I'm like, "Oh my God, did you remember?" Was that loud enough? Maybe I should have been more loud. Actually, it was great. But the idea, as soon as I got that book, I'm like, see, someone is doing something.
Yeah.
Every single chef, bartender, we actually benefit from.
Yeah, I think that's really where it kicked off for us as well. That was really like the Art of Fermentation book, the Sandor Katz book.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of everybody who writes about fermentation always credits Sandor Katz with being like the first person that got them into fermentation.
Exactly.
So that is like a base knowledge book for everyone to read at home. That's like book number one.
Absolutely.
But then the Noma book was kind of, it just blew open this whole.
You kind of feel related to it, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny because you're like, okay, if those guys are actually doing that, I need to start to do it because it's super interesting. And second, my food program will totally change. And I tell you, for instance, on my part, my drink program totally changed because of that. And there's not even many recipes about drinks. But, like when you got different temperatures and different reactions, you got it. Like the process is that process. After it can be forced fermentation, natural fermentation, spontaneous. It doesn't really reflect. It doesn't really matter because you understand the principles. For instance, now I have a goal that I want to create a menu that even searching for local ingredients, I want to do it with $150. That's my my first spending, and that's how I create like 13 drinks. And the idea is basically, okay, so how do I use my knowledge to reduce dramatically the costs? And through fermentation, you can do that because you can use a fruit 3-4 times before you actually. It's insane, right?
Yeah, the same with especially garums. For us, like
I've seen that you do have what you have. You have a mussel garum, right, on the menu.
We have mussel garum. We have a oyster garum, squid garum, chicken, beef, milk, maitake.
Beauty.
It's a lot of like waste products, right? So
of course. Can you just for the people that are listening, can you just very basically what's the kind of process to make a garum? Because probably some of those they don't even know what garum is, which is you got to look after people at home. You got to look after what garum is because it's a very good very good food saver there. Yeah,
garum is it's a fairly long fermented liquid, I guess. If you think of if you're making a beef garum, it's kind of like a fermented beef stock. We'd hold it at 60 degrees and let the enzymes kind of break down the proteins into amino acids. It just makes a really tasty, salty broth, essentially. So if you think of fish sauce, then you're kind of on the similar lines.
And it's delicious, man.
It's so good.
Some of those are so delicious.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a chambers? Do you create different chambers? Have you created a room that goes at 60 degrees or how?
No, so we don't have any fancy equipment. We do, which is good for people at home to know. You can build a fermentation chamber with probably for about $50.
Yep.
So we do, for the garums, we use an Instapot.
Beauty.
Because it has a 1 degree Celsius. We don't actually use it for like pressure cooking at all. It's literally just on like
nobody used this Instapot. It's so funny because, man, I'll tell you a little story of mine. As soon as I read the book of Noma, the first thing I did is buy an Instapot from Amazon. I was like, why did you fucking think about this?
Yeah.
And I bought it immediately. And
it's the temperature control on that with 1 degree. It's amazing. and you can just forget about it. Put on 99 hours and just reset it every 3 days. Yeah, it's been huge. So we do all our garums in there, so it keeps nice steady temperature. And then for misos and for like our koji chamber, we have a cool box, like cool box with a grow mat. Amazing. Temperature control. And that's it.
I built the koji chamber with the racks.
I saw that. Yeah.
I did all by myself, man. And if I did it, millions and millions of people can do it, because I'm terrible on building things, like terrible. And I did it because all you have to buy, it's a little, a heater, a dehumidificator. Sorry, my English obviously is not that great. And after, just some shelves, right? And that's what it is. Something so plastic that cover on top. Yeah. Another very good way is like old freezers. This is the best. It's actually a friend of mine in Scotland is doing a great fermentation chamber, and he's using an old freezer, and it's, he's doing some great stuff out there.
Yeah. But there's but you can even, like, for people at home, it's a little bit daunting to have to build something that you don't really know how to use. Because you don't really know whether it's right or wrong until you start using it. Sure. There's actually the Koji Alchemy book.
Yep.
That kind of breaks things down very easily. It's like, if you don't have equipment, you can just wrap it in cling wrap and put it in the oven with a light on. If you like making koji, and do that for a day. It's that you don't need any equipment. Like, there's ways around it. It's just, for a restaurant, you kind of need to control things a little bit more. But for home use, you can tell if things are bad as well.
Question here for you: how customers' reaction on you implementing the fermentation process inside the dishes became? Like, there were people appreciating more? Does people like a bit, bit snobby, or like, I don't like the funkiness of this? They appreciate it because it just tastes fucking great. What's the ratio there?
I don't think people really know or understand. There's a lot of things, like we'll sneak ferments into pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Like it's in there. Even like the steak pie has beef garum in it. It's like, because it's delicious.
Because it's delicious.
Yeah. But it's not like
lacto fermentation inside any of the drinks.
Yeah.
Like, and people say, what lacto was? Like, just drink it. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's things like that where it's not the main ingredient, but it's in the ingredient list, and it's in there, and like, there's no need to know that it's in there, really. Like, does it taste good? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Then we're all fine.
Do you think people will go so used into this they will actually come and look for it?
I think it's a familiarity with the terms. Like, everyone's familiar with miso and soy sauce, but people don't know what shoyu is, but it's soy sauce. So if it's we just finished a bacon shoyu.
Nice.
That's incredible.
Smoked bacon or normal bacon?
It's smoked bacon skin. And then we made a stock out of that, and then used toasted barley and split peas to make the shoyu. Again, that's just like waste, like the bacon skin. You don't really use it. It's not great for chicharron.
It's 1 o'clock. I'm starving. Thank you. You tell me all these things.
Yeah.
Cook myself a steak. Oh, that's so good. What's the future? What's the future of Marvin? What's the future of obviously yourself? Are you going to carry on implementing the food program? Are you planning to open your own restaurant? I believe I opened my own restaurant 2 years ago, or my own bar 2 years ago, and it was the beginning of the end. After the last 2 years, I would say, or actually the beginning of a beautiful journey, which is makes you work 4 times as much as before, but also makes your life such a thrill that you would do it every day, all day, if possible. What's the future?
The future, for me, I have no plans to leave Marvin, and just making it better and better, and diving more into fermentation, using fermentation more as like a vehicle to reduce waste, to be like even more focused on local seasonal, and kind of teach people about fermentation. Nice. We've got plans maybe to I don't want to give away too much, but setting up something else.
Beauty.
Yeah.
So expansion.
Yeah,
Basically
a
expanding.
little expansion. Yeah.
That means you have a good structure, because I actually never been to Clock Bar either. Unfortunately, man, I'm so busy. Unfortunately, that I don't go anywhere, and it's so bad because sometimes I swear to God, sometimes like people come to my bar and say, "Oh man, you should really come." I was like, especially in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The last year has been a mission to survive, So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you wake up every day, you're like, I'm not serving people anymore. Now I need to go to people's houses and bring my product there, which is 10 times worse. 10 times more exciting, because it's really a mental challenging more than actually an execution or production or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But as soon as we're reopening, I have a list of 3-4 places that I've really got to visit, because they I do think, and I don't know if you agree with me, a lot of chefs and bartenders, they evolved so much in the last year, because I don't know, you probably never stopped working, right? Have you ever stopped working?
We were closed for 7 weeks right at the start.
Okay.
But apart from that, no.
Exactly. But some people, they stop for like a year, they stop like for a year and 4 months, 5 months, and have all this time off. For a creative person, or a person that is really into his own craft, will bring it so much knowledge. And I tell you, I think even consumers' knowledge has increased like crazy, because how much YouTube we've been eating, and how much actually things we've been trying at home. I've seen, I make sourdough now, because as you'd say, there's new things for everybody during this COVID period. And and you will understand this really well. It's amazing, because when I tell people, they were like, "Oh, really? Why do you just let the mother goes?" Like, I can't let the mother go. That mother is like one almost 2.5 years old. I'm not gonna let it die like that. I'm gonna feed it. And you feed it, and what, you don't make bread, or you just gotta feed it for the sake of it? Come on, that's wank.
I think in terms of like consumer knowledge, like the amount of people like yourself that are doing like cocktail master classes, and having basically everybody has now like a tutor. Everyone has like a cocktail professor that they can hire for a night, or like tap into a seminar and like have drinks, but also learn a little bit.
Have you ever thought to do some some stuff like master classes, live master classes, or anything like that? Or you guys also are very busy with takeout and all this kind of things, right?
Yeah, I don't really. A lot of the food that we make, because it has ferments in it, is like, it's how do you like, it would be a month-long class, like, okay, we're gonna make this ingredient,
I'll see you in a month. I'll see you in a month for a master class. You make this, and don't fuck it up, because if you fuck it up, the dish won't come as good, and it's not my fault. It's your...
And that's the thing with the like media recipes. Like, if media will ask for like the recipe of this, or this, and it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to make 6 of the ingredients that go into it first.
Yep.
Like, I can give you the recipe, but
I do actually have a funny story about that. Foodism last year, not this winter, 2 winters ago, they asked me for an Irish coffee recipe, and I put black garlic in my Irish coffee recipes, because black garlic is the fucking best thing in the world, or one of the top 5. And they were like, "But we can't put black garlic in the recipe. Can you simplify it?" I'm like, "Well, that will not taste the same thing, because I want the funkiness coming through." And if I don't, actually, I will put just a very average Irish coffee in, and I don't want to do that.
And you don't want to put your name to that either.
And I'm like, it doesn't reflect what I'm doing. I can give. Why you don't just go online and put Irish coffee, and and take a picture of it? If you ask him for a good recipe, they actually they allow me to put black garlic, by the way. But I told them, it was like, fortunately, that's what we're studying, so that's the work. At home, I would say that it's a slow process, but I do really believe that this world of fermentation will kick out. The health properties, for me, it's going to be a huge factor. I eat fermented food. How much fermented food do you eat, by the way?
At home, I don't really eat at home, to be honest.
Of course. Of course.
At work, everything is fermented in some way, and
Nice.
Even for like staff meals, we have fermented ingredients just kicking around to
Very
add
cool.
in. Yeah.
We do. I just because I'm asking this question, just because the health properties are so high, that for instance, one thing that I like to do is whenever I got kombuchas and we got some extras, I share, especially if it's got ginger or turmeric or anything of this kind of properties. I actually give it to the staff at the beginning of the service, believe it or not, but even mentally, just right. It kind of helps to think that everybody's more healthy, so that service will, kick off and everybody will be there. Apart, lots of liters of coffees, which is, that's I'm actually getting crazy now about coffee kombuchas because I got so many mothers, man. Absolutely, actually, if you need a mother, maybe you have one. But if you need a mother, just let me know, bro. I got to give away like this.
Wicked.
This girl is reproducing like crazy. I don't know what to do with all this kombucha. Last question. After I'm gonna let you go. I know you got a million things to do. What do you think about the fermentation world in Toronto, and what do you see yourself in 3 years?
It's always a tough one. The old 5 year.
That's 3-5 years question.
I think the fermentation scene in Toronto, I think it's like all about community, right? Like I find that with ferments, people want to share knowledge more than with anything else. Because no one's really an expert. Yeah, I mean, there's like a few people that are experts, but like everybody, you can just do this yourself, and there's no like school for fermentation. So like the knowledge sharing is way higher than in anything else, I think, which helps build community, which helps get people interested. And I think there'll be an organic growth of people using ferments a lot more than people fermenting themselves a lot more, nice. Which then increases consumer knowledge. If they see fermented ingredients kicking around on menus and like a few different places that they order from, they're just going to become more familiar with it. And I think that's only going to grow. Like I don't see it going away. There's so many issues around food waste and sustainability and access to food.
You guys are really into this, by the way, Marvin. I can see from the message. I dig a bit on the website, and there's actually another really cool things that you guys started, which is the tip system, right? You basically strip down the tip system. I love this. Very European, because I don't know you, but I'm sure actually you too. But I worked for 10 years of my life in actually 12, 13 years of my life in Europe without thinking about tips, but just thinking about what I wanted to do for a living, what I really love to do for a living. And when I arrived to North America, you're like, oh shit, man, you can make even money with this. That's a bonus. But actually, you guys found a very, very clever way to kind of implement and not losing the tip system for obviously your employees, but also to kind of create a new way of thinking, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science when you haven't lived in North America your whole life. It's not. I mean, it is a very complex issue with a lot of like socio-economic issues. There's actually, I'm writing, there should be an article coming out next week with Notable Life about harassment in restaurants that talks about tip culture. It's really one of the worst, in my opinion, one of the worst things about the industry. It creates so many issues. It's like the cause of so many issues. And
I have a lack. I've never seen anything like that like live, because I will get crazy. I would I swear to God, man. This one of my favorite chef ever always said that he always employ people by merit. And that's the only way that people should share everything and be employed and be part of a community. It's you're good at it, how much you're worth it. And it's not, there's no point to actually create this differences just because.
It's pretty arbitrary.
I'm gonna read that. I'm looking forward for the article, man. I'm really into
it should be out next week. We only really had, like, we still don't accept tips, but it's a lot, like, we obviously not open. But we had like two or 3 months of running without tips, and it was great. You know, it takes the uncertainty out of it, especially during a pandemic. So now when we're closed, everyone's still on the same pay rate. Everyone's still, you know, have access to like an employment assistance plan, so they can get mental health assistance. So you get access to a counselor. And then also,
as a business owner, it looks amazing from outside.
Yeah. I'm honestly, like, if anybody is considering removing tips or a way to like better compensate their staff in a regular, dependable way, and also improve the well-being of their staff, I'm anyone who wants a conversation about that, I'm like 100% in.
Amazing. You know, another thing about this, which is you guys gonna avoid, and it's something that I really didn't like when I moved to North America. I'm not doing the prep shift because I don't getting $75 an hour because I don't have tips.
Yeah.
And after, you know, your drinks are shit because nobody's prepping it, because nobody wants to prep it, because if not, they don't get tipped.
And it has this.
This is so against, you know, the beauty of what we're doing, right?
It has the same amount of value.
Exactly. It's the same amount of value.
It's the same amount of value.
The structure is the same, and it should be carry on from the beginning until the end. We have 3 hours a day of prep just on drinks and mother, and 2.5 hours, 3 hours of breakdown. And for me, that is totally normal. Like I don't think there's a lot. I think it's just the way it is. If you want your product to be as good as possible, and if you want people to come back to either your restaurant, drink in a bar. Which I see you guys also own Clock Bar, right? It's the same company.
Yeah, same business.
I'll come for a drink and for some. I think Faz is a good friend of us as well. So
Fazam, yeah. He's
chef
really
as well. It's a good chef too, right?
He's an incredible pastry chef. Wild. He's such a talent.
I hate talented people, man.
He like in his free time he makes like leather wallets and bags and stuff, and it's just endless. He's really embraced like the fermentation program as well. So using a lot of vinegars that we have, like we have barrel aging vinegars that he uses in cocktails, and really anything that I make, I like give him a taste, and like cogs start going. And
beauty. And this is a beautiful connection between chefs and bartenders that can really bring the place to shine.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
Chris, I won't take any. I'm sorry, go finish.
No, it makes sense to have that cross between kitchen and bar. Like it.
I think it's innovation. Innovation hasn't got a space, right? Innovation is an ideology that people follow, and you know, once you got it in a very basic kind of way, if you actually add some machines or some structures to it, you can really make a huge difference. For instance, I'll tell you what's happening with lacto-fermentation and what we do. Now I got lacto-fermented liqueur, I got lacto-fermented pickles. If you're using that technique for one thing, it can really, be spread. That fruit that you've been using, you can use it for something else, as I said before. Chris, was a pleasure. I can't wait to come and eat at your restaurant. I think I can't even wait more to you to be sitting in front of me on my bar and get you some martinis going or some Negronis. What's your favorite drink, bro?
Favorite drink? It would be like Negroni. It's been the last time I sat at a bar was, I don't remember.
Oh man, no worries. We'll be like the first time. You were probably on their shandy. Can I have a shandy, please, man? It's like, whoa, yeah, I'm only 17. So. Man, absolute pleasure. It was great to see you. It's great to talk to you for 55 minutes, like if it was 5. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Take care, eh? All the best. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.